It has almost been impossible to avoid the media attention Volodymyr Zelensky has received in the last 3 years. You guys have probably seen his name throughout different news outlets and sources regarding current updates on the war. Regardless of your opinion on the financial aid that has been sent to them from the United States, it is vital that we look at how Zelensky improved his country's situation through the impact of his voice. Public speaking affects our daily lives, whether we realize it or not, and the situations we are involved in. We can take notes from current political leaders and past leaders and look at their testimonies and addresses to improve our daily lives and learn the skills they have mastered. Communicating when we need help, or even if we're leading a situation at work or in our daily lives, is a skill that we all can learn. And in my opinion, Zelensky has perfected this. And I'm going to start out by showing some personal information about him. So Volodymyr Zelensky is Ukraine's sixth sitting president. You might think to yourself, that's a little young in a country's history. That's because Ukraine did not become sovereign about until the 90s when they dismantled from the Soviet Union. He's a younger guy. He's only 47 years old. And it's kind of funny. He started his working career out as a TV personnel and comedian. So in my opinion, that's probably how he learned his public speaking skills and his just people skills overall. As a political figure, his approval was kind of questioned, especially once Russia invaded them, because the Ukrainian citizens believed he did not take the threat of Russia seriously enough. And rightly so, I could see why they thought that. But his respect was gained back once he took immediate action after the invasion and put his people first, citizens and military. His impact on the world has been great. His emotions through his speeches have been seen by millions and have really touched the lives of many individuals. Just listening to his addresses, you can tell he's a very strong man. He's not afraid of Russia, which I feel like I would be, saying Russia is one of the biggest countries and militaries in the world. And you can tell he's just not afraid of them. And now on to some facts about the war. So Putin officially invaded Ukraine on February 22nd, 2022. I don't know why it says 2024, but it was 2022. There have been 371,000 casualties, military and civilian. I personally include all human life because I don't like to separate the demographics on that. There have been over 8 million refugees affected by the war, and Russia only holds 20% of Ukrainian territory, which is really, really surprising. Speaking from when I was first hearing about the war, people were saying Russia would completely conquer Ukraine in weeks. And now almost 3 years later, they only have 20% of the territory, and there's really no end on the horizon. Now I'm going to show you guys some charts. So the first chart, it kind of gives you guys a visual of the battle zones and conflicts that have been taking place. And then on the right, this is a food chart. So a lot of you guys have probably been complaining about grocery prices in the past couple of years. And while there are many internal and external factors for that, the war in Russia probably has affected us in that way. According to Statistica, together they contribute 27% wheat production, 23% of barley production, 15% maize, 12% rapeseed, and 10% sunflower seed. So their global export on crops is a lot larger than I had known before previously researching this. And now that we have grasped the details on the current war, we need to look at how Zelensky used his voice to impact his country's situation. So on December 21st, 2022, Zelensky addressed U.S. Congress. Since his address, there's been an estimated 80 billion USD from aid, and that is just straight up cash, military weapons, and Human Aid. His testimony touched everyone in the building, political leaders around the world, and citizens watching at home. So how he actually uses his voice in his speech, he has impressive tone. His hand gestures and emotion convey that he's truly passionate about what he is speaking about, and he cares about his country, but he doesn't oversell it to where he's almost manic. He keeps it in control, but you can tell he cares a lot. He compared this invasion to the start of World War II. And this obviously caught the eyes of every Congress member that was in attendance. He said that there was a higher power that invaded a peaceful country, and then the domino effect just started, kind of like what could happen with this. He also displayed a clear moral high ground, saying that Putin was the aggressor. They were sovereign and peaceful, and they did not want this war, but it's now their problem through this. So they need, and they're the little guy, so they need support through the allies that he has been speaking to. And then impact on social world and markets. So after his addresses throughout the past years, the financial support has been through the roof. We have never seen anything like this in aid throughout a war. His aid has resisted one of the largest armies in the world. Obviously, we know Russia is very, very powerful. His citizens were provided for first. He put them first. He said, "We're not going to back down. I'm going to protect you guys. And we might need some help, but we're going to get through this." And in conclusion, President Zelensky's voice has been heard by billions around the world since the conflict began. Millions have seen his testimonies and his emotion that he has provided. He is a strong leader, and we can now see why strong leaders are very important in the workplace and politics. Having a strong leader to support a company or a nation is almost invaluable. And I encourage you guys to have conversations about current events in the political world, as they impact us more than you would think. And we can always look at leaders to help ourselves in our own lives improve the situations around us. So yeah, thank you for listening to my speech.